Okay, Algebra 1, let's look at the last part of 8.5, and then after this we're going to review, which means we'll go to some review problems. So when we're writing a quadratic function, we want to look at this information. For example, might give us the problem. Passes through -9, 0, and -2, 0. And -420 is another point it goes through. Okay, so really we're going to begin with our zeros, okay? Notice on each of these two, my y value here is 0. In other words, those are my x-intercepts, okay? My p's and my q's, okay? So -9 would be p, and -2 would be q. So I can then work backwards and essentially go x minus whatever that x-intercept is to turn it back into say a factor, and x minus a -2, and so then negative times a negative, that'd make it x plus 9 and x plus 2. So essentially I worked backwards now from my zeros. These are my zeros, my p and my q, essentially where it hits the x-axis, where y is 0 here. And I work backwards to write them as factors, because now I want to write the expression. Okay, so I essentially have now a function in intercept form, x minus p, x minus q. But I have to account for this a out front, okay? And that's where this other value comes in. Now, if they don't give me another value, then I assume a equals 1, okay? But they gave me another point, so I'm going to use that. So I'm going to rewrite this as, say, f of x equals a times the factors x plus 9 and the factors x plus 2. So we worked backwards from our zeros, and now we wrote them as factors. And notice if I solve these factors, I would get these zeros if I set them equal to 0, right? Okay, so the last thing we need to do is, if we have a point here, we have an x and a y. So we're going to plug in those x and y, and we're going to solve for a. So remember, f of x is the same as y. So I'll plug in 20 here for y. A, we don't know, we're solving for. And then I know x is -4. So I'm going to plug in -4 for every x. Okay, so that's going to be a times 5 times -2 equals 20. So 20 equals a times -10. And now if we're solving for a, remember we want to isolate it, so we'll divide by that -10. And a equals -2. Okay, so if I wanted to write now my full function that is represented by these qualities here that they gave me, then that's going to be -2 x plus 9 x plus 2. And we can leave it in this factored form, intercept form is fine. And notice we solved for the a coefficient -2, and that went right here in front. Okay, so what did we do? Well, we worked backwards. We had our zeros, and we worked backwards by writing them, x minus each of these, p and q. And that got me to my factors here. And then I had this general form, and I had to solve for a now. So I took whatever I had here. If they gave me another point that it goes through, I'm going to plug in the x value for every x and the y value for every y. Y and x. And then I solved for a. So I solved for the a coefficient, which was -2. So f of x equals -2 times the quantity x plus 9 times the quantity x plus 2 represents a function, a parabola that goes through -9, -2 on the x-axis and goes through this point as well. Okay, so remember though, if they don't give us a point here, we're just going to assume a equals 1, and we'll still do this part of the process here to get to whatever those factors are. Okay, thank you.